Hi guys, Michael here, and welcome to another Just My Opinion video. So I've been asked a few things to talk about. Some of them a little bit touchy and not exactly stuff from UK. So I'm going to be careful with some of them because you usually get people who'll say, "Yeah, I'm not from this country, so nothing to do with you," and all this. I'm just going to try and be respectful of that while... Oh, am I joking? I'm not. I'm just going to say what I think. Okay, so... Now, one of them might get a little bit ranty, the word, I don't know. But if it is, then one of them might get a bit ranty. It'll be the last one. But hopefully not. So let's get started. So the first one is probably one of the big things right now, which is Jussie Smollett. Yeah, if you don't know what's happened with that, you can easily check it out. Just check on videos on YouTube, or you can read it up on it. Just do a search for Jussie Smollett, and you can't miss it. But to do a TLDR, he woke up at around 2 in the morning and decided to do what everybody does at 2 in the morning and go for a Subway, which I kind of straight away when I heard that, it was like, well, that's a bit strange to start with. You know, usually you wake up 2 in the morning, if you're hungry, you just go to your fridge and yank some food out to make yourself a sandwich or something, or I don't know, anything. Throw some eggs on and make an omelette, I don't know, but. Yeah, no, he decided he was going to full on get dressed and go and have a Subway. I'm sorry, but that bit makes me laugh because it's just already the logic of it was a bit shot through. So he went to go to Subway and he was coming back, and magically out of nowhere there was 2 attackers and they shouted Empire because Jussie Smollett acts on a show called Empire. So these 2 attackers who knew him from Empire just happened to be on the street at 2 o'clock when he went for his Subway for them to be able to shout Empire at him. Then they ran up and one hit him. At the time, I think he said he only saw one, so they hit him, they scuffled. Then he realised there were 2, and they both started hitting him and beating him up. And then they ran off. Don't know why, but they suddenly ran off. And he said they saw MAGA caps on, which of course means Make America Great Again. It was Donald Trump kind of words. So they've got the red hat with white letters saying MAGA, M-A-G-A, for Make America Great Again. So he said they had MAGA hats on, and I think he said there were 2 white guys. And when they ran away, he realised they'd thrown bleach on him and put a noose over it. Okay, so he went back home with his Subway. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, and I'm not laughing about the attack. I'm laughing at the fact he still had his Subway. He just got attacked by 2 people and you're clutching onto your Subway. Oh dear, that's fucking so funny. Just imagine that, having my fucking Subway. Okay, I'm sorry. So he went back and he called the police. 45 minutes later, I think it was, he called the police. And when they got there, I shouldn't laugh, but it was so funny. So anyway, when he got there, he gave a report and told them about the men after his Subway. Okay, they went, but the men that attacked him. And he still had the noose around his neck after 45 minutes. I don't know. You know, which is a bit strange in itself. Why would you keep a noose around your neck for 45 minutes? I don't know. Anyway, so he had the noose around his neck, and he told them about the attack and that kind of thing, and that was it. They started looking for whoever it was. He did a TV show, a daytime show, where we were talking about it, and he basically identified 2 men that were in the area, and said, yeah, that's them, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, things didn't seem to add up. You ought to have guessed that from Subway. But things didn't add up, so some people started to get a bit suspicious. And then it started to unravel that he paid these 2 people, like I said, TLDR, there's these 2 black people that he worked on show Empire with, who he paid, well, who it looks like he allegedly paid to attack him. There's video footage of him in a shop buying MAGA hats, black clothing and all this kind of stuff, and there's also checks that he wrote to them, personalised checks for $3,500. Oh God! And Yeah, so he went on this show and he was saying about how he'd been attacked and didn't believe him and how it hurt him and this kind of thing. And of course, then it came out. It came out that it looks like he set it all up. I don't know why. There's rumours that Fox were going to fire him, so unless he were going to make himself a victim, so Fox couldn't fire him, I don't know. But what I look at it like is this: I think Jussie needs help. You know, it's you can go on like, oh, it's unfair. You know, black man tried to do a race war because if you don't know, Jussie Smollett is a black gay man. So you know, it would pass. I don't know if we're pushing it was because they were black or gay or both. I don't know, but the point is though that it was something that could really cause a lot of trouble and raise a lot of racial tensions like that. Because we being a star, you know, is it spotlighted a lot more. So we were basically trying to say these two MAGA hat wearing men, you know, were did this. And I looked at it this way: one of my problems. What if he'd have seen? What if the cameras had picked up two white men on the street, not far away, around that time? Would he have said, "Yeah, they were the guys that did it"? Would they have had to go to jail? You know, and it's all right. There's always some people that say, "Well, you know, yeah, but you know, black people had to go to jail for no reason in past, so you know now white men know what it's like." And I know I've heard this kind of saying, this kind of way of thinking before, and I don't disagree that black people have gone to jail for no reason before. I don't argue that, but that don't mean that it's right for it to be done to others, because then it starts a vicious circle. Because then they can set up a black man for no reason and get him to go to jail and say, well, a couple of white men went to jail for no reason, so we made some black men do it. Then they do it and they do it and they do it. It gets into this vicious circle of let's keep doing it to it. Yeah, it's like they say, two wrongs don't make a right. Just because you're doing a wrong thing that was done to you doesn't mean that yawn becomes a right thing. Yeah, I saw somebody doing interviews on this college campus, I think it were, or whatever you call it. And some of the young people there were saying, "Oh, but he managed to bring kind of a spotlight to a problem." No, he didn't. He wasn't doing it for that. You know, he wasn't doing it to try and bring attention to a problem. We know that there's racists out there and homophobics out there and sexists out there. We know that. We see it in the news every day. There's always some idiot that's being racist or being sexist. We know this. You don't need a celebrity who's in the spotlight to be doing it too. He was doing it for his own ends. He wasn't doing it to bring attention to this. He was doing it for his own ends, to make him into a victim, so he could play that victim wave and use it to get whatever he wanted. Personally, instead of being angry at him and hating on him for that or whatever, or being angry at that, I think he needs help. There's obviously somebody in there that needs help. He couldn't see what his actions were causing and the trouble it was causing and the trouble it could have gone to and what could have come from this, because I don't think his mind connected that far. I think he found something more important he was looking for, and I think he needs help because of that. So I hope more than just throwing a book at him and saying, "Here, get in jail" or anything. I hope that they help him. You know, find out why he needed so badly to do this, to kind of make himself a victim, and see if they can help him out. Because it's a shame. It's a shame that somebody did this, but I usually find there's a reason behind it, and I hope they find it. And I hope they find it. I hope they help him, and I hope he finds some peace from some peace from. You know, let's not turn this into hate. Let's not turn this into a reason to hate. Let's kind of help the guy, and then make it so it doesn't happen again. I think that's the way to go forward, rather than hating on it. So that's just my opinion anyway. Which is the name of this video. Yeah, it's just my opinion. Okay, next thing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is kind of continuation with the Jussie Smollett thing as well. And that is one thing that's been happening a lot recently, is that journalists jumped on that story and they didn't do due diligence. They didn't check the sources. They didn't look to make sure that the facts were right. They got the story across the desk and they just rolled with it straight away. And they were saying about how Jussie Smollett had been, you know, we've got this news surroundings like it was like a modern day hanging, and you know, he'd been attacked by these white MAGA wearing racists and all this. They were just running with story after story, and of course then it came out that it looks like he's completely lying and he set it up, and they were yet again caught with with a kind of foot in the mouth. And I've noticed this is happening a lot just lately. It's happening in gaming a lot as well. We had that thing just not long ago where there was that female Overwatch player where they were caught, where everybody was saying, "Oh, it's a male." All Overwatch players were saying, and that were saying this is a male, and the game journalists were saying, "No, you're being sexist. All these male gamers being sexist to this girl and hounding her," and it did turn out to be a male. And instead of just apologising and saying, "All right, we got it wrong," they basically went, "Yeah, it were male, but if it had been a girl, then it would have been sexist." And it's like, well, that's just so stupid. I've noticed there's a lot of this where they use identity politics. This game's racist, this game's homophobic, this game's sexist, this game goes against transgender and all this kind of thing. And it's like, it annoys me because I really believe that they're using this just to get clicks on their articles, and I think it's disgusting because they are using racism, which you shouldn't use it to get clicks on your article. Racism is there because racism's a term because black people went through terrible things in the past. You don't use that pain as a way to get clicks on your article, and it's same for homophobia and feminism, and sexism, sorry. They bring out all this, and it's just to get people to click their articles to find out, why is this game sexist? Why is this game racist? Why is this game homophobic? And they kind of use it because they want people to click on their articles. And when they do this, they do it because they've lost their journalistic integrity. There was a time, if you go back years, back to kind of good over 10 years ago, if a story came across a desk that looked really tasty, like it were a good story, first thing the journalists would do is get onto their sources, find out, is this true? Should I run with this? Is this right? And they check the sources, and they get corroboration or be told to be waiting and be cautious, whatever, and then they go with that. Now they don't. It's like, oh, here's a story. Oh, what? There's a female gamer who's being hounded by male gamers? Well, let's just call them all sexist pigs. Let's tell them all they're sexist and they should be ashamed of what they're doing to this young lady and, terrorising her. And then, calling her a man, a male. And then it comes out the male. And it's like, well, there you go. Now, if you'd have used your sources to check that out, you'd have probably found it were male, but you didn't, because you don't do that now. You've got no integrity anymore. You just run with it because you want people to click, and that's what you do. And I think journalists need to really take a step back, because if you look at what's saying with the Lincoln Monument, I'm sorry, this is an American thing, so I'm not really sure about it, but Lincoln Monument, them young guys, and there was that Indian that came and started banging a drum in one of the faces. As it turns out, the young school students did nothing. They basically were the most mature there. There were a group of black men who were shouting racial slurs at them, like incest baby and and all this, and they were even shouting at one of their own, like a black kid that was in the group, and saying things to him. And then the school kids started doing a school chant to try and drown out this racism and these nasty comments that this other group were doing to them. And this Indian walks over, and instead of going to the small group of black people that were shouting the racial things, they walked over to the kids and got in one of the faces and started banging a drum. Now the problem is, where I come, and I'm going to call this straight, because whether you want to admit it or not, you can say it out loud. Oh no, it was disgusting that how these kids reacted and all this blah blah blah. But let's face it, that young lad, he stood there while this Indian was banging a drum 2 inches from his face. Now, whether you like to admit it or not, you cannot lie to yourself. You know very well, if somebody had walked up and started banging a drum in your face, you'd have took that drum and smashed it over his fucking head. Because I'd stamped on it. I'd have just plucked it from his fingers, thrown it on the floor and stamped on it. Not because I'm trying to be disrespectful, but for me it's very disrespectful for anybody to walk up and start banging a drum in your face. I don't care if he's a Vietnam vet. That was years ago. That doesn't give him carte blanche to do whatever he wants. It doesn't mean, oh look, he's a Vietnam vet, so if a Vietnam vet walks up and kicks you in nuts, then you're supposed to go, oh well, yeah, that was painful, but hey, it's a Vietnam vet, so I'll lay him off. No. There's still no right and wrong still counts. He walked up to them kids, got in that young lad's face and started banging it. He could have easily held that drum away. It could have easily kept that drum away from his face and started banging it, lower down or whatever, and still stood quite close to him. But no, he lifts this drum up near his face and starts banging it. You don't do that where I'm from. And I think you don't do that from where most people are from. I think if I walked up to most people with a drum and started banging it in the face, I'd either get punched or my drum head gets broken. Simple as that. But yet again, journalists ran with it. Oh, these MAGA hat, because some of them were wearing MAGA hats. So yeah, link again, always politics involved. Anyway, these MAGA hat wearing kids, disrespectful to this, Indian guy and all this while he's banging a drum in the face. And it's like, and then it came out that there were kind of section cut from video that could have made the kids look bad. But when the longer section came out, the whole video was seen. The kids were the most mature there. Yet again, the journalists ended up looking like idiots because they didn't do due diligence. They didn't check the facts. And that's how it's too much of that these days. And they need to start doing that because it's getting pathetic. And they are looking pathetic. And now the final thing, I don't know if I'm going to rant at this. I'm going to try not to. It's Captain Marvel with Brie Larson. Now, I'll kind of do TLDR again. Basically, she said that, because she's going to be Captain Marvel, so basically she said that she wanted a more diverse, I think, people to interview, a more diverse kind of group of people to interview her. So she didn't want as many white people. She wanted some from minorities and things like that. And she didn't want to know what white people had to say and all this kind of thing. So she really went after white people. So of course people started showing disrespect, started showing their anger on Rotten Tomatoes. And right now I think it's on like a 28%. People don't want to watch it, kind of, that's people saying they don't want to watch it. And straight away, instead of them saying, okay, look, she said some things about white people, they didn't like it, we'll sort it. No, instead, journalists and everybody started backing her and saying, and basically making out, well, if you don't go and see this movie, you're not going to see it because she's a woman. And it's nothing to do with her being a woman. It's to do with the fact that she's virtue signaling like mad. And the worst thing is that everybody's backing her. Well, not everybody, but like those that usually virtue signal to are backing her. Journalists are backing her, but journalists live on virtue signaling to get clicks on their articles, so they're backing her. And then recently, the guy who played Shazam in the movie, because Shazam was the original Captain Marvel, so the actor that played him has basically gone to Twitter and accused everybody of being a troll and don't be a troll to her and all this. And it's basically pathetic. She basically opened her mouth about white people and all this kind of thing, and then they're now trying to guilt trip people into forgetting about it and going to watch the movie. You see, my thing is though that I don't see how this movie can do well anyway, because if the movie does do well, and they say things like, oh, we beat the trolls, even though there were loads of trolls, we still did well. Well, no, you didn't, because you gave people excuses. The trolls are just going to say, oh, the reason you did well is because you were clickbait. You were making everybody go and you forced people, you guilted people into going. And then you bought tickets for kids who couldn't go, which made another few thousand sales, or however many kids went go. So you're using tactics like virtue signalling and threatening people that they're sexist if they don't go and all this, and it gives you a head start. Now, if you can't start on the line with everybody else, then you're never going to be respected. I mean, you take Black Panther. Yeah, there were people saying, oh, first black superhero, but they didn't say, oh, if you don't go to see this movie, you're racist, because that would have been wrong. That would have meant then that Black Panther was started like halfway down track before they even started, which you don't. To get respect, you have to start on the start line. So yeah, they were like, oh, Black Panther, first black Panther, and he might have given him a step start, being first black superhero, but basically started online, and he did amazing. So good enough, really good. Wonder Woman, same. Yeah, woman hero and all this. You might have given her a step or two, but still, don't matter. She started just better on the start line, did well. But Captain Marvel's going to start like halfway down track. Oh, we don't want no to do with white men, but if white men don't go, it means they're sexist. So, of course, now if people do go, it's because they've been guilted into it. It's a guilt trip into it. And then also because they've been doing virtue signalling, any of them people that also virtue signal are also going to to go because they just want to be seen to be, backing this. So in a way, it's looked to be it's kind of started itself halfway down the track and nowhere near the start line. So it's already a failure in my eyes, because anything it does is because they've used guilt trips to do it. And if this is Brie Larson's tactic, that every time she does a movie, she's going to use virtue signaling and guilt trips to get her movie into a good spot, then I think that means you're the weakest woman lead I've ever seen. There's been some amazing strong women in lead roles. If you look at like Hunger Games, if you look at Mila, is it Jovovich? I think something like that, did Resident Evil. And of course, the best of them all, Sigourney Weaver, Ripley in Aliens. That's what you call a strong woman. I was talking to somebody about Ripley, and I said to them, and I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but I said, when you watch Aliens and she's there, you feel safe. She makes you feel safe because you feel like she's going to have the answer. And she doesn't lose her head. She's strong. Such a strong character. It was beautifully written. And then Brie Larson comes along and starts using the guilt trips to get, and virtue signaling to get what she wants, and says she's going to be a strong female lead. You're not. You're a weak female lead. You're a very, very weak female lead, because you need virtue signaling and guilt trips to get you where you need to get you halfway down the track. That's pathetic. So, I won't be going to see the movie. And yeah, you can say, well, that makes you sexist. I don't give a shit. I'm not putting no money in Brie Larson's pocket for doing this virtue signaling guilt trip bullshit. I would have probably gone. I've seen most at Marvel movies. I think there were only 2 that I missed when they released at the cinema. I've watched them all now, but there were a couple I didn't go to see. But otherwise, I've seen them all. And I wouldn't put a penny in her pocket if there was a gun at my head. So I don't care. People can say what they want about me, but I'm going to miss that movie with a big fucking smile on my face. That's it. Because I think it's disgusting. And people need to learn, you see. If this does well, then all it's going to do is show people, yes, we can use virtue signaling and guilt trips to force people to go, and it's going to work. And I don't think you can set that kind of precedent. You've got to show them, no, if your movie is good enough and your actors are good enough, we will go. If your movie is good enough and your actors are good enough, we will enjoy it. We will not enjoy it if we're told you've got to go. No, that's not the thing. And one other thing, Brie Larson said she wanted to see more like black people interview her and things like that, women and that. Have you ever thought these black people and women might have better things to do than interview your skinny ass? Have you ever thought of that? You're acting like you're giving them a job. Like, oh, if I don't have them interview me, they're stuck in the office with nothing to do. Have you ever thought that they might be out doing better things, more important things than interviewing you? But you're acting like, oh no, I'm going to make... Obviously, black people don't do any interviews if they're not interviewing me, so I'd better do that and be kind and make it so they can interview me. No, that's bullshit. They work hard, maybe harder than others do, because they've got something to prove. You know how it is with racial things and that. They sometimes have to work that bit harder just to prove themselves. And they do a great job. But that also means that they can be out there doing a lot more important things than interviewing you. So, I think that's bad anyway, that you feel you've got to give them a job to do when they're probably out there doing hard work anyway. But anyway, that's just me. So yeah, there you go. I didn't rant. Very good. Anyway, guys, that's it. I will talk to you again soon. If you've got anything you want to hear me talk about, then either leave it in the comments or send me an email to asklordug@gmail.com, and I will get round to it eventually. So you take really good care. I'll talk to you soon, and goodbye for now.